your hometown lawn and garden center since 1919.
Good morning to you. Back to another edition of the morning show here at WIDU, flagship station, 2520 Murchison Road, 1600 AM, 99.7. Very excited about what I read yesterday in a news blast about a big step for Fayetteville. And I tell you, look, I like to talk about the good stuff too. Call the mayor up. Look, we ain't gonna beat you up all the time. That's some good stuff, and we're gonna talk about that. And Mayor Mitch Colvin's with us, also Chairman of the Board of Commissioners, Kirk deViere, and we have Mr. Robert Van Giens. He is your official title is what, Robert?
President and CEO of the Fayetteville Cumberland Economic Development Corporation.
Right. Anyway, he's the business guy. Anyway, so. But we have some exciting stuff going on, and I'm really pleased that they're in with us this morning. And I want to give deference to them because I really want them to talk so that we all can become more aware of what's going on and all of the great possibilities that are going on. So, Robert, I'll let you lead off with this. You know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the, I'm going to use the language that you had, the unmanned aerial systems manufacturer.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you, Trevor, for having us here. I think this is an example of where we've been moving as a city, as a county. We've been working to build an innovation ecosystem. I think recently, you saw maybe we launched our innovation center here downtown. We announced up on All-American the building of purpose-built buildings for defense-related industries. You've seen a lot of great stuff coming out of the community college and the training side. And so yesterday, Skyton announced 162 jobs. This is a U.S. division of a Ukrainian aviation company that converted into unmanned systems after they were invaded. And this would be the first North American production facility. They've got operations in Slovakia, Germany, and the Ukraine currently, and they'll be building here to be for systems acquired by the U.S. government, by the U.S. military.
That's huge, man. I mean, look, I congratulate everybody that participated in making this happen, particularly the county and the city, and you, State. Robert. So, I mean, that's phenomenal, man. The first in North America. I mean, how do we show up on the map? I'm not arguing about it, but I'm just happy about it.
Well, I think that's somewhere that we've been working to position this community as the largest neighbor to the world's most populous military installation, as a state across the board, that we are a great place for defense and defense innovation. And when we have these kind of folks here, that we should leverage that. When you look at our population, the talent it means, the families that are here, we've been working hard to put ourselves out there in those markets. It's not something you can always put on a banner or put on a sign, because a lot of these things are have a secret component and a classified component. But we've been aggressively positioning ourselves, our region, and our state in markets like this through trade shows, small events, and really hosting things like a drone competition to bring those companies here. This money is going to be invested in new technologies, and we believe those new technologies should be grown and developed here and employ our local people.
So, I've been beating up Kirk and Mitch about our Tier 1 status. This is like a dig out of this, Mr. Chairman. What about that?
Yeah, and first off, I just want to say, publicly, Robert, you and your team, just a great job. You've been working the foundational work for this sector for many years, and so just a great work. As I said, even though the city, you went to the city first for the incentives before you came to the county, but that's okay. But I told you to go win it, and we made sure we did. And I think the biggest thing that I see is it's validation. It's validation that we're doing the right things, that in this sector, when you beat out Oklahoma, Nevada, it's validation to this industry that we're here, we've got the workforce, we're next to Fort Bragg, we've got the infrastructure, we've got the the pieces that we need, the quality of life, and we're building out the pieces that we don't have. And it's a good signal to the industry that and validation that we're here. And the next person that looks doesn't start from zero. They already see industry here, and that's important when you build on the momentum that's in place. And that goes back to the titanium plant, to this. I mean, you start bringing advanced manufacturing around the defense sector space. This validation, it makes it easier for the next one.
Mr. Mayor, we're turning the corner, man. So finally, some real positive things that happen for our community.
Well, again, good morning to everyone, and kind of echoing what the chairman said. Robert and his team worked hard. They've laid the groundwork. As we look at what our circumstances are, right? I think that before we have built an entire ecosystem on how to sell things to the soldiers, right? You can go down any street, any one of these thoroughfares or corridors, and you see restaurants, you see car lots, you see all retail based that has built an economy here based on soldiers. What we think to get us above the fray as to what you talked about, and I know we'll get a little bit more in detail, we've missed a real opportunity to have companies that sell things to the military, to the Department of the Army. And so you see with a company like this drone company that's producing a product that the military can use, the pay is higher, the impact will be higher economically, and our ecosystem will raise up, and that'll help get us out of that tier 1 status that I think you talked about, because wages and average salaries were part of the calculations for that. So as we talk about that a little bit, we'll talk about some of the things that we've done collaboratively to focus on building more and attracting more people who will do business with the government. They're spending an incredible amount of money in the Department of Defense and advanced manufacturing, and so we'll talk a little bit about that and some things that I think we're working on that'll get us where we need to go.
Well, I mean, I think I think the public would be pleased, first of all, with the collaboration with our two main governmental entities, and now that they've structured the business component of attracting businesses here in such a way that you are involved in, Robert, because it wasn't like that before. I forgot what it was. We had to evolve to where he is.
Yeah, it was. You had the chamber and you had the economic development in one, and it was kind of.
Yeah, it was called, at that time it was called the Cumberland County Business Council, and then it split back into the chamber and an economic development arm, and that's been 12, 15 years ago. So.
Right. Well, when you get older, that seems like days.
Well, I won't even say that I was a chairman of one of those organizations, speaking about how long it's been. So
I heard that.
But I think to your point about tier 1 status, I think one of the areas where, and we've got a lot of work to do, and we're doing the work, but average wages is one that we've actually made the most strides in. If you were to look at the different categories from per capita tax base to population growth to average wages, we are actually well out of tier 1 status in that category.
Right.
We've got more to do in the other areas, and we need to grow this local economy in our region. But all in all, we have seen positive movements in that with the employers we've brought in and kind of working that shift. Not that there's anything wrong. A job is a job. A good job's a better job. But moving away from retail and hospitality as our base into things with higher wages for our folks here in Cumberland County.
So now I'm looking at your flyer here that talks about, which I was already aware of this, we're the youngest city in the Carolinas. How do we frame that to the business world and what you hope to accomplish?
Well, I think there's that. There is the 30,000 plus folks going through either training programs or traditional programs at FTCC. There's the work being done at FSU and the new medical school here. It's putting together a talented workforce, which has a really unique component here with the 7,000 folks a year that transition out of Fort Bragg. And so it really is a self-renewing talent pipeline. So you combine that with our local folks, our educational programs, our youth, and our international diversity with 80 plus native languages spoken in our schools, makes us a very unique community for one our size. So if you're a company that is looking for hundreds of really skilled folks, we're a great choice for you, and we stand out against our competition in the same size category.
So what do 31-year-olds do? Because that's the medium age. I mean, when it comes to buying homes or whatever, I mean, how do they differ from, say, somebody in the early 40s?
Well, I think the dynamics are changing, right? And that goes back to our whole business model, right? We can either be Blockbuster or we can be Netflix. I think we've got to curve and change. So if you look at the single home families, all the major builders are under pressure right now because people are not buying homes in their 30s like they used to. You know, used to get college, a job, home, white picket fence, married, baby. This generation is not doing that. I mean, they want to move, they want to be flexible. So I think that we have a real robust rental market here. We've got one of the best occupancy rates in the country. Talking to some of the national guys that has properties in 17, 18 states, he told me by far Fayetteville is the best rental market for his multifamily, high-end multifamily. So they're looking, we've got to build a community that they enjoy living in. I don't know that selling them on the housing market is the piece in the 30s. And from what the trends we're seeing, they want to be nimble, flexible. You know, by 25, I had a kid or two married and was on the way to something, and this generation doesn't function that way. So I think we've got to build a city that is enjoyable. They look at amenities, they look at coffee shops, they look at parks, dog parks, some of those things that we're putting emphasis on as a city. They look at entertainment. That's why we're pressing to make sure that downtown is robust and attractive. And then as you do this, when they have choices to get out of school or to get out of the military, they have options. And so if you have the opportunity, I think where we've not closed the loop is we train talent and it exits the community. And so now things like this present an opportunity to make a higher than average wage. And then we need to build the amenities around the city. And I know the county is working on some of the other soft spots that we had, you know, make sure the schools got money. And so Kirk can talk a little bit more about that. But our concentration is making a city that people want to live in, and sidewalks and business opportunities and housing are a big part of that.
And just to piggyback what the mayor was saying, I mean, I think when you see those new kind of community neighborhoods along Santa Fe that's just built, so that kind of live work is right there attached. As we look at a younger community, that's what they're looking for. If you look at some of the faster growing cities across North Carolina and across the Southeast, I mean, that's what they're doing. And I think we're seeing our first one here. You know, of course, it's going to be in the urban area in Fayetteville. And to the mayor's point, you know, our role, and something that we've really just shifted into that priority is making sure we're making the investments in our school system, because that is one of the number one things that people ask about when they're moving here, especially if they have young children. So we've got to make those investments in the schools. We've got to make the investments in the infrastructure in the outlying areas. Fayetteville can only grow so fast with so much density and so much space. I know they're working on that as well, but we've got to provide that infrastructure and ensure we got that water and sewer across, you know, places like Linden and Wade and Godwin and Beaver Dam and those areas, so that we can grow across the entire county. And that's going to be important, because we know that population is another factor in this Tier 1 status. And you know, people want to get caught up in this Tier 1 status. I just want to remind people, at the stroke of a pen, the legislature can change the parameters. They did it back in 2018. I tend to try to stay focused on, you know, are we creating a better ladder of success for people? Are we creating more prosperity for people? Are we creating, you know, generational wealth for people? Are we getting home ownership? You know, are we developing those things as we grow our community? And that's where we'll see, you know, our average wage and those things go up. So we've still got a lot of work to do, but it just kind of feels like we're at that point where, you know, the city's really investing, the city of Fayetteville's really investing in a lot of quality of life things, which is important. They're investing in a younger population. The city, the county is working the infrastructure, the schools. We're all working across the public safety. Just feels like we're moving in the right direction. Kind of did a reset probably 3-4 years ago in a direction, and reinvested and put our shoulder back into advanced manufacturing, technology, defense sector, healthcare, those types of things.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, but until the legislature do that stroke you're talking about, I want us to be out of it. You know what I mean?
I hear you. I hear you.
Well,
Robert.
to be clear, that we were, and they put us in.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah, but again, it comes back to those metrics all matter. We want to be doing the best we can on all of them. But I think it's also about capturing opportunity and making this an attractive place for folks at all points in their personal economic growth cycle. So whether it's coming out as a student and finding a job, whether it's an internship, whether it's you've come out, you've been doing one thing, you want to train up at the community college for another, or whether you want to start your own business. And so we're investing heavily into a lot of funds that allow people to be an entrepreneur here. That's a hard thing to do if you don't come from a background with a significant amount of capital. But the city and the county, the chairman, and during his time in the state senate, provided funds for that. But we've got things that'll help you create your own business here or grow up and scale up your business in Fayetteville and in Cumberland County. So whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're looking to get a better job, whether you're looking to buy a home, we want to be the place that you want to come, stay, and grow your family into the next generation here.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that, people want to see that. I think that our money needs to be spent wisely, I should say. They talk about within the African American community nationwide, our collective wealth is a lot greater than some other countries.
Oh yeah,
but
we spend the money.
But it's like how we spend it. You know what I mean? I mean, in certain communities, dollar stays in like a month, and with us, it stays like 2-3 hours.
Right,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, Mr. Mayor, that's part of the thing there.
It is, and you got you crack the door open. Now it's open. But I mean, you've got to look at a lot of factors to that. One is back before integration, desegregation rather. Blacks had to spend money with black businesses, and so Murchison Road looked a lot different in the 50s and 60s before that. Then integration came in, it gave options and choices, but what has happened is oftentimes you got people in these communities and they don't have the jobs nor the goods and services within their community, so you've got to go out if you can get out, from a transportation standpoint, so that contributes a little bit to what you're saying. But I think I want to go back to something else too. The part of the Tier 1 piece that matters most to me is the population growth. That's where to me success is won or lost. That we were the 4th largest metro that is now the 6th, right? And so if we don't change the way we do things and to be able to attract and keep people here, then we will lose that competitive advantage to be in the top 6. And so I think that part of this is making sure that you convince people to stay, 1, 2, that they have something to do and can take care of themselves and their family if they decide to stay. And then 3 is where do they live? You can't find many examples. You can see, if you ride around the city, you see people building stuff on lots that you've seen vacant forever, that lots with dips, lots with holes that just didn't look practical, but they're out of space. And so the importance of what is happening on the county side now is critical to the growth of Fayetteville, that the more infrastructure pushes out into Grays Creek, the more that pushes out into Cedar Creek, the more it pushes out into Eastover and Godwin and Fay and Falcon, that helps that population of Cumberland County to increase, because Ben Stout and Adam can't put a housing development where they don't have the land and the infrastructure profitably. So they go across the line to Parkton, which is Robeson County, and you're helping Robeson County numbers grow. So I think not only do we have to do the jobs, not only do we have to do the quality of life, but we have to have the pieces in place to say, if you decide to stay, where will you live? Because we've got a lot of our talent that is by this largest military base that generates $8.3 billion a year or more in our local economy that lives on the Moore County side of the line or the Harnett County side of the line. And so I think those are the things and the real conversations that we got to have. But again, I am excited to see that there's a new perspective being taken, that we're not just comfortable with setting it up to where we can do what we've always done and expect a different outcome. So,
sure. So Robert, I'm looking at this company coming here to Fayetteville, North America, lands here. That has to be huge, because anybody in business, they're looking at this, So hopefully they would say, hey, look, if these guys can go there, then maybe it's okay for us to go here. Is that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the timing is right. We're seeing at the state level, and I was attending an event with folks at the international level, the growth in defense innovation has become, a lot of people want to come and do what we do best and they want to play catch up, and they're being very aggressive about recruiting these type of companies. So winning and winning now, winning publicly is very important. I think the other side about it is what it says about our workforce here. I think some people I've seen out there saying that they're going to relocate folks to take these jobs. They don't have folks. They have one person here that's CEO in the U.S. that'll become based here. But other than that, everybody will be hired locally if we've got the people that can fill that skill set. And those are jobs that our folks can get the training at FTCC, or they can come out of another job, I'd say Goodyear or other employers, or they can be coming out of the military and sign on for this. These are achievable jobs for what I like to call the light blue collar, not quite white collar, not PhDs, but we've got incredibly skilled and talented people here that can fill these roles.
And you know, let me just add a piece to that, right? That we send Robert out, city and county jointly fund, along with some private sector participation. We send him out to sell this community to people. Then when he brings opportunities back, we have a group of folks that show up that don't want anything, right?
Yeah, that's true.
They don't want, 10 years ago better, we don't want Sanderson farm jobs, okay? I got it. So you don't want to double down in agriculture and those kind of things. So then you come in with some higher wage jobs, and there's a problem there. Just recently, one of the local companies here was bought out by a company in another location. They chose to keep the location here and to add some capacity to it. But again, you had some washed up previous elected officials leading the charge to say we don't want it. $50,000, $60,000. What was the average salary of this unnamed company that I don't want to talk about? The one to do the expansion that just went through the planning department, that there was opposition.
I think $70,000 a year. I think
how much?
$60,000 a year.
$60,000 a year in a community that we're talking about tier one. We're talking about wages, and so everything can't be a fight because companies look at that too, right?
That's true.
They look at, is this a receptive community to what I want to do? And I think that some of the past leadership has been closed-minded, not pointing the finger at anyone, but as a community, what do we want to be? What do we expect of Robert and of Kurt and myself to say that I am tired of seeing gas stations on every corner and tired of seeing restaurants, where are the jobs? And then when you bring jobs, everything's a fight and a slug for Robo, because companies are not going to deal with that. The data center piece. We don't say that we're short of jobs, so let's go get us a data center. What data centers do is they bring the anchor of the infrastructure that are needed to attract other things in communities that get it. Do you need to be smart about it? Absolutely. Should you make sure that the community's protected? Absolutely. But if you're closed-minded to that and other opportunities, it's going to be hard for this man to come back and to show up with jobs that you say as a community, we say we want and need here so that we can get out of that tier one status.
Sure. Well, I'm going to let Kirk have a comment because he has to leave.
I want to mention something, and I know that Mitch will chime in on it as well, but as Robert talked about, where we are in the industry sectors and what we're doing, over the last probably 18 months, 2 years, as a community, we've been very deliberate to have conversations about how are we aligning the education to the industry sectors, because that's going to be important. Because when you start recruiting advanced manufacturing jobs and these tech jobs, while we've got a lot of that talent here, either exiting the military or from FTCC, FSU, with those cybersecurity and technology type certificates and degrees, they need engineers, and we need to look at how we're aligning our education assets as well as our workforce and make sure that we've got that pool that we will need to have the workforce that when these potential clients come in or when the industries come in, that we can grow these industries out of the retail sector. So that's an important piece. And I think my point of that is we've been planting that seed and working that effort over the last couple years, probably 18 months now, I would say, Mitch, and it was an initiative that Mitch brought forward, and Robert had a consultant come in and talk about next generation workforce, and that really brought us to a conversation of how do we ensure that we look at the workforce, these are the type of jobs we're going to need for the next generation. So how do we begin to align those, the educational side, whether it's community colleges or universities or certificates, or people coming out of the military to that workforce. And I think that's an important piece that you're now going to see more and more of in deeper conversations. And I think we as a community, and Mitch and I were having this conversations at the City View newsmaker event last week that we've really got to put our shoulder into this now and have some hard conversations as a community and say, we need some engineering degrees. We need some of these other things. And I know this has been kind of one of Mitch's points that he's been hammering on for the last couple of years.
Okay, well, look, we need to go to a break. But look, I appreciate you, Mr. Chairman. And I know you got to go. You got another meeting to attend. But we'll be back with Robert Van Giens and Mayor Colvin to continue this conversation. Thanks so much, sir.
North Carolina lawmakers approved new regulations this month aimed at reducing youth access to nicotine products, creating new requirements for specialty vape shops, and expanding state enforcement authority. Senator Lindsey Graham will be remembered in Washington today, the first of 2 funerals for the late senator. The Trump administration is preparing to ramp up funding by hundreds of millions of dollars for programs designed to counter China's growing influence worldwide. More than $34 million in federal funding is headed to western North Carolina for Helene relief, much of it going to Asheville-Buncombe Technical Community College for program. A dispute over police compensation following this year's National Black Bear Festival in Plymouth been resolved, but some town leaders say the situation has prompted a broader conversation about the town's role in privately run events. Mike Riley.
I'm Jamie Monticelli, WIDU Radio News. Cumberland County, in partnership with the City of Fayetteville government and community partners, will open cooling centers today. Residents without access to AC may visit a cooling center during normal business hours to stay cool and safe. When temperatures are high and extreme heat is in the forecast, remember to drink plenty of water, stay in air-conditioned spaces when possible, avoid direct sun exposure during peak heat hours, limit outdoor activities, and take frequent breaks in the shade. Cumberland County Schools is seeking trusted and enthusiastic parents, guardians, and community members to serve as CCS Family Ambassadors. CCS Family Ambassadors serve as important connectors among families, schools, and the district. Family Ambassadors share family-friendly information, guide families to the appropriate CCS staff and resources, and support family engagement efforts at their schools and in their attendance areas. From WIDU Radio, I'm Jamie Monticelli.
Your Tuesday forecast, looking at the chance for some late morning and early afternoon showers today. If that comes to fruition, it may actually reduce the chance for severe thunderstorms, but that potential is there between about 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. High temperatures 85 to 90 degrees. Overnight still going to be mild and humid. We'll be in the mid to upper 80s heading into tomorrow, with nighttime lows dropping into the 60s by first thing Thursday morning. I'm meteorologist Chris Michaels in the NCN.
If you have been injured in a motor vehicle collision, you should understand that the insurance company is not on your side. It is the adjuster's job to get by with paying you as little as possible. Call personal injury trial lawyer Brent Adams now for a free no-obligation consultation. Call now, 910-888-8888. Don't hesitate. Call 8. At Brent Adams & Associates, we make things right.
You ever notice how most helpful information always seems to show up just a little too late? Like, oh, the deadline was yesterday. Or,
you know, you could have saved money if you'd done that earlier.
Timing matters. With smart timing, you can lower your energy costs by running appliances like washers, dryers, and dishwashers outside of peak hours. And by adjusting your thermostat just a few degrees higher between 3 and 6 in the afternoon, you can save even more. It's a simple shift that helps reduce strain on the energy grid, supports a more sustainable future, and keeps power reliable for everyone in our community. Because at Fayetteville PWC, we're committed to being environmentally responsible, dependable, and deeply invested in the place we all call home. Timing matters, and smart timing means savings. Learn more at startsaving@faypwc.com.
Your Tuesday forecast could see some late morning and early afternoon showers, and if that indeed does come to fruition, it would reduce our severe storm chance later in the day. But that chance does exist between about 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. High temperatures today, 85 to 90 degrees. We're quiet overnight with temperatures dropping into the lower 70s. And we'll be in the mid to upper 80s Wednesday, lows in the low to mid 60s heading into Thursday morning. I'm meteorologist Chris Michaels in the NCN Weather Center.
In life's most difficult moments, you deserve compassion, dignity, and peace of mind. At Wiseman Mortuary, 431 Cumberland Street, we've been serving families with care and respect for generations. We're proud to announce our new location, Wiseman Mortuary of Garland, 65 North Belgrade Avenue, Garland, North Carolina. From traditional services to personalized tributes, we are here to guide you every step of the way with warm understanding and experience. Let us help you honor a life well lived. Wiseman Mortuary, where every life is celebrated and every family is cared for. Call us today at 910-483-7111 in Fayetteville or 910-529-1341 or visit wisemanmortuary.com to learn more. Wiseman Mortuary in Fayetteville and Garland, caring for families when it matters most.
Back with our conversation with the economic guy, and that's Mr. Robert Van Giens and Mayor Mitch Colvin. Chairman deViere had to leave to another meeting, but again, but this is good stuff. I like this. I'll admit that I do like this. Is good stuff, and I'm trying to understand and know myself. As we figure this out. That's why I asked the question about the housing issue. Because, I mean, I don't know what young folk... Look, I was like you. I was a homeowner at 28, 29, something like that. I was pretty young, you know what I mean? But I was Vietnam vet, too, so, that was a whole new bowl of wax there.
Yeah.
But still, I don't know what young people do now because a lot of them be home with mom and they 55.
Yeah. Right. Well, we got a 6-month rule at my house. Transition, But yeah, it's a different perspective. But and you have to change according to, right?
That's true.
Because the market will follow the demand. And so if these kids want studio apartments in urbanized areas, just a half a mile from everything, or walking distance from everything, in 2-3 parks, then you'll see the market move that way. And I think it's incumbent upon us. What we want to do is make sure that the opportunity exists here. Kirk tagged something that I've been hitting for a minute about how important our universities and community colleges are to the conversation, right? That we have a very high concentration of nurses, criminal justice graduates, social workers, medical billing. Those kind of things come out of our universities in large numbers. And by and large, they're very successful with landing work. Between the hospital and the schools, I think they employ, about 14,000 people collectively?
That's right.
So they're the largest non-federal employers that we have, and most of those degrees fall in there. So if nurses don't go in there and then change the field. So when they're there, they're locked in. School teachers, same thing. God bless their hearts. We can't pay them enough for what they do. But you don't have industry that really follows that. And so as we realign what the jobs and the sectors that we're looking for, like this, like the healthcare space that now the medical school is bringing in, I think we've got to raise our target a little bit, because those the first year workers in those fields average somewhere between $35,000 and $39,000. Okay, and so that puts us in as to why our median income is where it is. If you're employing 14,000 people who start out in this career that's making that kind of money, so you've got to get the 70s and the 80s in here, and you'll do it with this. I don't think we've taken advantage of FTCC's NSA status. I didn't realize the full depth of what that was, but the National Security Agency has given them a certification that if you go through their program, that you 60 or 80+% of the people who graduate their program find work within the first 6 months. So how can we land some of those things here? The skiff base that Robert is talking about in his office are rarities. They're jewels. That's a secure space. I think we need more of that the city and the county, instead of getting an industrial park like Military Business Park, you get something smaller footprint where you use buildings that have secure space that companies can then now use. You've got the talent, you've got the NSA certification here. They need a location. And then final thing I'll say is Fayetteville State and UNC Pembroke are working together on the Southeastern Additive Manufacturing Initiative, called SAMI. What that is this 3D printing, that's advanced manufacturing. The government is spending in this past year $3.7 billion in added manufacturing, and you had a lot of those defense companies and aerospace companies that were there in Pembroke. We need more of that activity here, and so that's something that I know Robert helped Fayetteville State out, and working with Dr. Colvin over there at the hub brought those relationships together. But advanced manufacturing pays those higher end jobs too, particularly with them spending that kind of money. We can get a lot of that impact here in our community.
Yeah, and I think the two sectors we're talking about, both healthcare and the defense innovation side, importantly, we want our students and our people here, those getting into these career paths, to have advancement forward. I think it's great if we can move them up one step, but we want them to have the ability, without incurring debt, and to move up further. And both our healthcare system partnerships and the defense side will pay for your additional education and training while you are working. So if you go through and you work through the FTCC or through our K-12 programs and you get that entry-level job, they will pay you and incentivize you to take that next step forward and get that next certification and degree, and so you can move up. You don't have to be doing that on your own on the side and incurring debt. And so it's not just about a job, it's really about a career path and overall economic growth for you.
Sure, and I would encourage those young folk out there to just pay attention to because a lot of these jobs do require a clearance, a security clearance. And if you have somewhat spotted background with criminal charges in some areas, it's going to keep you out of.
And what we're talking about is not a one-size-fits-all, right? These are options, and you have to have things in the economy for everybody. And I think that one of the other areas that we haven't talked about today that we're already a natural fit for is the tourism, particularly sports tourism, right? That as we, you hear us talk, when I brought up the idea about the convention center, oh, we don't need that, we've got priorities. What that does, you're the only one of the top 10 cities that say that we can't host stuff in your community that supports the service jobs that are here, right? So for people that may have made a mistake or two on their background, they already work in our restaurants. They're already able to work in hotels. We have not had the things that attract people here, and then again, you don't have that anchor space that if they're attracted here, how do you host it and entertain that? So working with Distinctly Fayetteville, working with the county, how can we use the tennis center? How can we use the sports complex? How can we allow them to kind of run point on the sports tourism? That was something brought to us, that the city can handle the recreational park side of it, but to host some of these basketball and baseball games, well, you all are parents, you know how you follow these kids around with traveling activities between dance and sports and those kind of things. My girls were always into something, and you're in all kind of communities. So I think you got to have that piece working for us, and we haven't really been able to leverage that. But I think bringing that together with the tourism part of it, those are 4 sectors right there, Robert, that you talked about. Healthcare, you talked about cyber, you talked about technology with this advanced manufacturing, and now you're talking tourism. I think that creates a whole different Fayetteville, Cumberland County for us.
Well, and I think, too, when you talk about how we won this project we were talking about earlier today, Skytown, it wasn't just, we did not outspend our competition.
Okay.
We did provide support for this financially, but it's about the quality of place. It's about the workforce, and to have that workforce, you have to have a great quality of life. It's a multifaceted equation, and it's something there that we need all those pieces to come together to successfully attract and recruit companies here and to get companies that are growing here to stay. I think the mayor's absolutely right. My wife's been to Wilkesboro. I've been down to all parts of this state and other states supporting our daughter's dance aspirations for days and weeks at a time. And I can tell you that that is we make a significant investment in those communities out of my wallet every time we go. That money, I'd love for it to be able to stay here. I'd love to have multi-day events here for sports and for these types of tourism and entertainment and arts events.
Well, the cyber thing really pays. I mean, I know a guy, he does work for me, but he's also done work for you. He finished that cyber thing out there at FTCC, and I think I know he may have started as a GS-13 or somewhere in there. Got to understand, that grade is comparable to like in 06 in the military, a full bird colonel. So that's a lot of money.
And he's got a military background, which gave him the security clearance, right? And so, local business owner that still has that. But man, when you make that kind of money with retirement and benefits attached to it, that's a significant lift for you. I mean, that opens a lot of doors with that. And so those are the kind of examples of we need more of that in our community and opportunities being there. And it takes time to do this stuff, right? That anything you work on, it takes time. It took me 20 years to get my business to a point of where it is. I think that this economy didn't get where it was overnight, and we can't expect instant success. And so, you have some of the folks who used to be in the seats that stand over there and throw rocks at the process, but you can't turn a battleship in a minute. You can't take an economy that was facing north and get it south within a couple of years. It takes time, but I'm glad to see the collaboration. When we show up in D.C., when we went to the Department of Energy, and you had every major institution here represented. You had Robo's office, city, county, hospital, PwC, Fayetteville State. We came back not only impressing them, we came back with resources. I think we've got to do the same thing with the Department of Defense. We got to show up there. They've got a local government side of the Department of Defense I want to talk to Robo about that. They have money when you want to diversify your economy. If your economy is overly saturated with federal dependency on federal military bases like ours, they have a program to help you diversify it. And I think that we have not tapped those resources. So looking forward to robust conversations and collaboration with our universities, college, and continue with the county and with Robo's office.
Well, I think one of the challenges you have is that somehow or another, and I don't know how it gets in the folks' head, but they'll see something wrong in Oregon and say, oh, they're doing the same thing to us right here. You know what I mean? And it catches on fire like that. I mean, even with the whole data center thing, I believe that it's just, it's like a contagion. It's like a virus. People are saying something in one place and they are making it applicable to where they are, when that may not necessarily be the same thing. And that's, I mean, from where I'm sitting, that's what it looks like. And I end with this, because I believe this, I heard this thing just the other day ago. It's just that, because it's all emotion with them. You would never win an argument with someone that they're arguing from an emotional state and you're trying to provide logic. You just will not win that argument ever with them.
Well, you got that right. I mean, or philosophical, right? I had a conversation this past Sunday at the NAACP, and the whole conversation,
how'd that go?
Was about data centers, right? And it went well because they actually had questions that they had prepared for things that they'd heard or read on the internet that may or may not be true. And so it was an ability to clear it up. Now, you had your certain sector in there that showed up for the meeting, that probably found out I was going to be there, showed up for the meeting, that you will never convince that data centers are right for us. Because they read from the National NAACP's website, which said, this pledge for no dirty data centers, have mainly three principles. Moratoriums when necessary, but they skipped over the when necessary part, right? It just said we demand moratoriums. It was the letter that I got, right? It didn't have the when necessary. So the national said when necessary, which is to get rules in place. 2 was don't allow it to impact disadvantaged neighborhoods. I told them straight up, there's not a single council member I've talked to that's talking about putting any of these, if approved, or allowing them to go in a residential neighborhood, particularly in the black communities. And number 1, there's not the room for it. But 2, no one supports that. And 3, make sure that you get something out of it. This is from the national site. Mm-hmm. So communities that we talked about before, when you and I first started talking about it, $1 million given to school systems in Huntsville, recurring. You get something out of it. If these companies want to be in your community, set rules, put them aside so they don't impact communities in any negative way. Make sure they pay their own bills, which is what we talked about. But it was a good conversation to answer questions that for people who were looking for information. People who walked in there with their mind made up, walked out of there with their mind made up. But the importance of this is that we need to say that we are open to anything that changes our economic picture that does not impact our community in a negative way. So if Robert has a site of land on that's full of trees, the one thing that makes it valuable is getting utilities to that site. That goes from a land with trees to a site that he can now offer to somebody if it has electricity and infrastructure. And so we told them that was the purpose. It was not the 50 jobs, even though we're in a community that can use 50 six-figure jobs. We're celebrating right now almost 200 jobs of $70,000. So if it's a six-figure job of 50 or 60, I'll take those. But it's not for the jobs. It was for the other things that comes with it.
I think at the end of the day, when I was talking with a site selection consultant a while back on a project, he said, it's difficult because there is no other Fayetteville. There is no other Cumberland County with its unique mix of folks, rural, urban, and the military influence on our economy. Because of that, because we are admittedly unique, we need an individualized and customized strategy that is focused on us here locally. I think when we talk about these jobs here, we've been building an ecosystem around our assets, from early stage companies and startups to drawing them in, to moving up to the next level, to using our international connections that others don't have the way we do. But if you need 1,000 PhDs, that's not us right now. And if you need 10,000 people at minimum wage, that's not us. So it's about finding the right companies and then moving this economy forward step by step. But to do that, we have to pull together all the different pieces that make us unique and come together around investing to make them that much better so that we can be even more competitive in the future and really compete for the jobs, not just tomorrow, but 10, 15, 20 years from now.
And when I was going to say, Robo, to the point where it came to my mind when you said that, we've got some retired folks in our community that the jobs thing is not what drives them, right? But it impacts them. Oh, for instance, you don't know how many emails I get about a Trader Joe's or a Cheesecake Factory. Well, Trader Joe's and Cheesecake Factory follow income levels. Exactly. They follow education levels. Right. Trader Joe's said that, you don't have enough master's degrees in the community for us to put a grocery store there. I mean, that's right. One of our locations there. Cheesecake Factory has its parameters. So it impacts you either way, even though you may be retired and don't need a job, and you'll get your check as long as the mailman's truck has gas in it. But it impacts you. The safety of your community impacts you, whether your grandkids want to return here or not, or whether you have to visit them once or twice a year, or whether they're around the corner. It impacts all of us in a certain way to make sure that people have opportunity and jobs here, and that those jobs pay the amount that we need in our community.
Right. Well, look, guys, got about 3 minutes left. Do appreciate you, and look, very sincerely, this is applause for what you guys have done with regard to this one particular thing. And now I say, hey, let's do it again. Come on, let's keep doing this. I think that my latter years in life, I like what I'm seeing, and I'm just hoping and praying that you all can continue doing what you're doing.
Well, thank you. We're just really grateful at our organization for the support we get from the city, from the county, from our private sector investors. And this project gets from the state of North Carolina and Governor Stein's office there in the Department of Commerce. And it really does take everybody coming together, because we're not just competing in North Carolina or state against state. We are competing internationally for a lot of these projects. And there really is no second place on them.
The first in North America, people. The first in North America.
First of many. So thank you again to Robo. Appreciate you, Troy, for giving a platform to be able to educate the community on the significance of this. Let's welcome them like we do with open arms, that there will be jobs and opportunity. There'll be new people coming to our community. Let's make sure that we're being neighborly. Let's sell our community. There's a series called Rocka News that travels around the country to go to communities and talk to people. Just talks, and it shows the good and the bad. And I watch it just to get ideas. And then I was looking at it the other day and I saw Fayetteville. And I was very proud at how we were represented by random people, not politicians that they went up to and talked to ask you, what do you think about this community? And there were very positive statements given. So shouts out to Vic Blends, the barber that, 16 million followers on YouTube. Vic cut Obama's hair, but he represents our community well. He was kind of the tour guide that took him around, but they went to downtown. They went to Gillis Hill Farms. They said that Fayetteville is an urban/rural community with a lot of diversity, and the people that they talked to were here because of military purposes. Some of them got out the military and they stayed. But check that out if you can. It's Rocka News on YouTube. I put it on my site. But let's sell our community in a positive way, like we are, so that people, when they look at our community, say, I want a site in North America, Fayetteville comes up.
True. Well, thank you. And thank you all for tuning in on today. And we'll be back. And again, I appreciate Chairman deViere, Mayor Colvin, and Mr. Robert Van Giens. Till the next time. And our most able producer, he's from Lumberton, but you think he's from New York. He got on a Giants hat now. He's a Knicks fan, and thank God the Knicks won, because I think he was like 1.5 when they won the last time. So now
I see you deal with it too.
And that is the Reverend Paul Matthews, pastor of the First Baptist in Lumberton, North Carolina. Gotta get out of here, guys. Y'all have a great day.
Thank you.